At the moment of summoning to another world, lightning struck the kingdom as mana accumulated. The smoke began to dissipate. The summoned people questioned what had just happened. A girl realizes that a second ago she was at school. Someone mentions that, in recent years, human nations have waged war against demonic nations, and this has led to great losses and few results. They are possibly on the brink of a major crisis. And it is for this reason that they decided to summon people from other worlds, blessed with powers to help them. And these people were them. You have the power to answer the king's call, the 18 great summoned heroes. Koros, is this real? So let's measure your skills right now. The girl soon notices a system window appearing in front of her and questions what it is. The wizards are astonished to see that she possesses a rare ability from the Reaper goddess. The others are also astonished and say it's incredible luck. While for the other man it also seems to have rare abilities, and another further ahead as well, they comment that it is something they gain in the transition from their world, a power given by the gods. The elder explains that abilities do not manifest in people from his world, and that, in fact, this is an honor granted by the gods. Only those who arrive from other worlds can be called to serve the good. The people from our world refer to them as heroes. They seem to get excited upon realizing that in this world there are powers, and that they are something like heroes. The elder explains that there are some with great skills among everyone, and that the summoning time seems to have paid off in the end. Someone bursts in, catching his attention. While one of the wizards explains the girl's powerful ability, suddenly, someone explains to the elder that this young man's ability is nothing, literally like an empty gap. He has no special skills. A silence fills the room as he contemplates this awkward situation. Time rewinds, explaining the story of our hero. On another busy day, he headed to the company. Soon, his train was completely crowded, as always. He was tired of having to spend more time teaching a team that should already be fully trained. When he was about to board the train, he came across some gentlemen. Tried to understand what was happening. Thinking that it might hit someone's body, he thought it could be a beautiful woman. But soon he looked around, questioning what was happening, and the man in front of him explained that he was a god. So, our guy wondered if he ended up dying. He explained that he was summoned to another world, and that it was his father who brought him there. Our friend asked who would be his father. The man explained that this was the king of all gods, Zeus. While our friend questioned this, the gentleman explained that, until now, the administrator had been Athena, but the other gods had been complaining about her discrimination against men. So this time, it's me who will take care of you. A summoning administrator, our boy questions. He confirms, saying that his name is Hephaestus, and that he is good at making things. He explains that he would give you a skill now. Since it's his first time giving someone a skill, he did his best preparing something. Our friend seems confused about it. He takes a skill that he had separated, saying it's something he created. The Master of Supremacy makes our character completely confused, questioning what it's about. Hephaestus explains that it might prove difficult to use, but since it's him, he will probably manage. Our guy questions if it's very hard to use. The ability is introduced into your body as Hephaestus explains that this skill was something he dedicated great effort to creating and asks that you use it consistently in this new world. After a few seconds, our guy loses consciousness, and then the invocation is completed. He remembers everything that happened until he got there. The king thinks that, in fact, he will not be able to fight against monsters and things of that sort. While our friend ponders, the other wizards question how someone could have come without a skill, stating that this has never happened before. He realizes that everyone seems very worried about it. Our guy is about to question something, but the king quickly freaks out, saying he doesn't know what to do to help, since he can't send him back. But he never said anything about it. The girl asks why he can't send them back. He explains that they can summon the heroes to their world, but they have no way to send them back. They are shocked to hear this statement. He explains that it is said that the demonic king knows how to do this, and that is why they must go to the front and fight against the enemies. But since he doesn't have the skills, he won't be able to do it. The king seems annoyed, saying that he is also perplexed about what to do with him. Our friend makes a suggestion, asking if he can receive a piece of land. This leaves the king perplexed. He explains that he doesn't mind if it is something far from the king's cities. There he will plant in the land and live in solitude. He is determined. Since he can't go back home, he will put corporate life aside. And that, in this world, he will live his second life in the best possible way. Some time later, the man who accompanied him explains that there is jungle as far as the eye can see, and that from that point onward is where his domain would be, leaving our protagonist astonished. The gentleman explains that it was purchased by His Highness and given to him, just like the gold they gave him, so that he is free to live there as he wishes. He realizes that since he was escorted to uncharted land, this means he is not part of the kingdom, wondering if the king bought that for him. The man questions if this isn't great. It may be true that it is not the kingdom's territory, but this land, having no connection to anything, means that he can live there, cultivate, and have his harvests without having to pay anything to them. He agrees with this, therefore, the man asks him to pay the guide fee. Thus, he withdraws, explaining that no one will question anything from him henceforth, that he may live as he wishes, whether to die or to live, and so he departs, leaving our guy behind. He feels a little bad for knowing that he made them pay for his own lack of skills. Saying goodbye to the man who left, he turns to his domain. And so you think that now your new life will begin. He thinks that normally someone would embark on a great adventure alongside their groups. They would overcome major crises and defeat great enemies, gaining fame. But he can manage without all that. Considering that the king and his people seemed quite desperate, he could live without all this action and simply enjoy life safely in this new world. Thus, he would not need to wait for them to beg for help, and believes he should establish himself somewhere a little farther out of their reach. A little further ahead, he feels the true air of solitude, saying that there is no better place than this. He says he will stay there and make this his new little kingdom. For that, he needs to secure some water first. He thinks it might be salt water. But upon tasting it, he realizes that it is actually drinking water, wondering if it is a large freshwater lake. Looking ahead, he notices something strange. He smiles, saying he is an octopus, but soon questions whether an octopus lives in freshwater. Anyway, I'm going to grab some food anyway. He then grabs the octopus but ends up slipping in the process, and so it falls into the water. As he leaves her, he gets a scare as the octopus clings to his head. He questions what happened, as the water was so sweet before, but now it seems so salty, so it is seawater after all. Confused, he takes a bit of water again and tastes it, and again it is fresh water that he drank. Confident, he seems happy, imagining that this is what another world might be like. Glad that water won't be a problem in the end, he decides to eat something. Since he has no seasonings, he will cook the octopus with seawater itself. He decided to gather some firewood to make his first fire there. Remember that you should make a small hole to drain the burnt wood, and then make a cut. Place a stick and then rotate the hand, thus the embers created by the friction are drained and fall onto the leaf. It is easier said than done. After all, it is believed that sufficient willpower is required. When he puts in determination, his spin increases, but a big flame erupts from the wood, leaving our friend completely perplexed. Later on, our guy is eating the cooked octopus. He keeps questioning what happened earlier, unable to understand how the fire ignited so quickly. To think that my survival skills would be so great. Could this be my ability? He remembers that Hephaestus is known as the god of the forge, and that the skill he was given he called Master of Supremacy. When thinking about these skills, he believes he should give it a try. Taking a small gathering knife, he tries to activate his ability. At that moment, a great energy is released in the direction he aimed. Our protagonist questions whether this is real. In front of him, he notices that all the bushes and grass have been completely cut. He feels that it seems a bit strange, so he grabs a hoe and tries with it as well. On the first attempt, the soil in front of him is moved. The next moment, he realizes that the soil has been softened. And he barely had to do anything. There are some worms there too, and the soil became like that because it was how he imagined a planting field should be. He realizes that the supreme ability he received from Hephaestus multiplies the efficiency of anything he holds. With this power, starting a plantation will be a piece of cake. He decides to plant the strange seeds he received from the city. Decides that you will do it the right way. There will be an abundant harvest. Some time later, he finishes, and what is revealed is a beautiful plantation in front of him. He thinks he doesn't know exactly what he planted, but if it can be harvested, then it won't be a problem to have supplies. He decides to take some time to fish for something for dinner. He sits on a rock and waits, realizing that this might be a bit slower than his corporate life, but thanks to Hephaestus, he was able to overcome it all, thanks to this wonderful ability. At this moment, it seems like our guy managed to catch a big one. He realizes that the weight is much greater, but he is happy about it. But soon he is perplexed. From the water, a girl jumps out holding the line with her mouth. He is shocked to realize that he hooked a girl. How did I hook up with a girl? But then she notices her tail, so she's not a girl. As expected from another world, there are also mermaids. She complains to the earthling, "How dare you fish me out like this?" But he understands why she is being so hostile. "Since you've caught me, now you have to marry me!" He didn't seem to fully understand what she meant, but she continued, saying that there is no greater humiliation than being caught by a land dweller, and that she must now be exiled as a mermaid, since the loser must dedicate their body and soul to the winner. He, still in shock, doesn't know what to do, and that's how he married a mermaid in another world. Our guy notices that she looks very different from the illustrations in books. The beautiful mermaid comments that she is all dirty, and that now she can't even return to the ocean. He remarks that just 'cause she was caught once doesn't mean that's true. She, irritated, retorts that for the races of mermaids and mermen, the land dwellers have always looked at them with disdain. He questions why she is so angry, but she continues, saying that her pride was hurt, and who in their right mind would return to the ocean after that? For this reason, she has no choice but to become his wife. He must take responsibility and provide from now on. He questions whether the relationships between species are acceptable, asking if she shouldn't think a little more about it. She comments that it's true, since with their tail, they wouldn't be able to mate, but, embarrassed, he comments that it wasn't what he was talking about. She then takes out a small bottle, saying that she is going to drink that. He becomes intrigued as the mermaid continues to finish the bottle. A light shines, and our boy, upon looking, realizes that the mermaid's tail has turned into human legs. She questions what he thinks about it, but he, embarrassed, turns away, as she is not wearing underwear. She explains that, in this way, she is able to live on Earth without any problems and can even give birth to her children. Asking if he has anything else to refuse, he says he understands while covering his face. In the heat of the moment, he ended up taking the mermaid as his wife. But he asked her to wear something at least. He thinks he has nothing but the small plantation he just started. Meanwhile, she is frustrated about not wanting to wear that outfit. But he complains, saying he couldn't marry someone who goes without underwear. He mentions that he will get some clothes she likes at another time, but the most important thing right now is that, at the moment, he doesn't have a roof to sleep under. He has nothing but this land. It is at this moment that he, looking down, sees some plants. Some small seedlings where you planted the seeds before. Our guy is shocked to realize that they are already sprouting. Our guy soon realizes that this is part of the gift he received from Hephaestus, the ability to improve any tool he is holding. The siren questions what he is planting, but he replies that he doesn't quite know yet if they will be flowers or a field. I will start to become self-professional with them. Food, a house, and tools, we will make them ourselves and use them for our own needs, a humble lifestyle. She retorts, saying that earthlings are indeed troublesome. He replies, saying that it shouldn't be too different from the life she used to live. She then says that, if this is the kind of life her husband has chosen, then she understands. With conviction, she says to leave it with her. After all, medicinal magic is the ancient magic of her kind, and she is, by the way, a famous mage in this aspect. He questions what she is talking about. She says she will show him and asks him to wait a moment. She then begins to undress, and he questions her actions. She starts running without underwear, while our boy questions where she is going. She says she will bring the things from her house here. Jumping in the water makes our guy doubt. He stands there confused, trying to understand what the hell happened. Our guy keeps walking on the grass, wondering if that mermaid really seemed to want to become his bride. He thinks about the peaceful life he desires and how there is no guarantee she will return, and then decides to build a simple house and starts cutting wood. Some time has passed, and then he finished a small wooden house. He looks ecstatic, unable to believe that he did all this in just 1 hour. This is, in fact, the dream of any man. And even with Hephaestus' gifts, it ends up being exhausting. But questions whether the fatigue is because of the mermaid, asserting that she will not return. But soon she returns, saying she got home, again undressed. He asks her to put on some clothes. Annoyed, she asks him to be quiet. He then questions where she was all night and that he was worried. She, proudly, comments that no mermaid needs a land dweller worrying about her. The mermaid explains that it took her some time to pack her things. Soon he notices various items out there and asks what they are. She explains that they are her medicinal magic tools. If you mix plants with medicinal properties or similar substances while adding magic, you will have magical remedies, which can have different variations of solutions that can be created. And, since ordinary people can also use this, it becomes very valuable. He asks if he can use this if he gets a cold. She explains that she can compose something that eliminates the symptoms, and he is happy about that. She soon returns with a large fish, while he asks what it would be this time. This is the buy her ring G. He, not understanding, questions. She explains that these types of monster fish have a lot of mana stored in their bodies, and if you cut it this way, cook it for a while, extract dry, and finally turn it into powder, you will have a Bahering G fertilizer product. Our colleague is inquiring about the fertilizer. She adds that if he spreads this in his fields, the plants will grow much faster. She is eager to use them soon. He is impressed by her having done all this for the fields. The next day, our boy was startled to see that the crops had quickly blossomed, turning into large plants. He says, surprised that Bahering G is amazing, but she replies that she is the amazing one. Our guy realizes he should have put in stakes the day before for the plants. He picks up one of the plants in his hand, questioning whether it would be a tomato. Soon he takes a bite of the tomato, and without further ado, says that it is delicious. He is impressed with the mermaid's technique, but she merely questions if this is really that good. She picks up a tomato in her hands, and still questioning proof, taking a bite. He wonders if it is appropriate for the diet of his species, but the girl bursts with happiness, saying that it is delicious. She asks if Earthlings always eat things like that, and our boy is surprised by her reaction. She grabs a few other things, asking if she can eat them too, but our guy asks her to wait a moment. He explains that vegetables have different properties, and some are not good to eat before being cooked, which frustrates the girl. She cries as she exclaims that she wants to eat more vegetables soon. He realizes that he really has no choices left. Preparing some food in a pot, he explains that he will make some by cooking with seawater. He serves a dish to the mermaid, who looks for a moment before bringing it to her mouth to taste. She remains silent, and our dear concerned one asks how she is. The mermaid says it is delicious, very, very delicious, while blushing. These words bring a genuine smile to our boy. He also serves himself. The girl cries, questioning whether Earthlings eat this sort of thing regularly. He explains that, actually, it should be with a little meat, which would pair very well. But it's also possible to add fermented herbs as a condiment, and then it's even better. She is shocked to learn that the food can get even better, and he explains that, if she has the right ingredients, it can. He mentions that he will make more condiments next time, something for miso and parsley. So, they need to plant some beans, and as soon as they have meat on hand, They will make more. They need some kitchen utensils too, saying they will be very busy, but she just inquires about this terrestrial. She remains silent for a few seconds, while our guy is completely lost in thought. She realizes that she hasn't asked for his name yet. Saying her name is Platy, she asks for his. He is about to say his name is Itanami Norio, but realizes he is in another world and can change that, so he says his name is Kidan. Kaidan is his name. He hopes you can get along by calling him by his name. She looks thoughtful and says she will remember this. He doesn't ask questions, saying she can call him Earthly if she wants. Our guy wakes up in the morning, thinking it's hard to sleep on the floor. Looking at the bed, where the mermaid would be, he wonders if she woke up before him, since she's not there. He wonders if Platy would still sleep well in a bed, even transformed into a mermaid. He then remembers that it all started because he ended up hooking her, hoping she isn't feeling bad about it. He heard a scream from the girl and ran to her. Scared, he questions what happened. She says that someone is in the fields. He sighs, saying that it's a scarecrow, explaining that it's something he made himself. It shows the joints of the puppet, which allow movement. He was equipped with a wooden sword. It serves to scare away the birds that ruin the crops. She seems to have understood, saying then that he must kill the birds with this sword. He casually comments that, in fact, it was just a joke of his, because it actually doesn't move, and by having him there, the birds believe it's a human and don't come closer. But Platy comments that it is moving. Our guy looks to the side and is perplexed by the exaggerated movements of the scarecrow. He continues to be surprised, while Platy asks if it wasn't supposed to be this way. He believes it was not made to move on its own, questioning whether it's because it was made by his hands. Platy asks if there is something wrong with his hands, and our character explains that, in fact, he was summoned there by the king of the country, that he is a traveler from another world, and mentions that the power he received from God is something that manifested while he was making the scarecrow. Platy is perplexed and questions him. She questions our friend, asking if he by any chance is a hero. He is surprised that she knows about these things. She feels bad that he doubts her abilities. She explains that summoning heroes from other worlds is one of the types of magic rituals performed by humanity, but she questions whether these heroes do not use their powers to fight for humanity, and our guy agrees. She then asks what a hero is doing there, to which our protagonist instantly agrees. He explains that he didn't like that part very much and, therefore, left the place. She finds that quite interesting, leaving our protagonist intrigued. Earthlings, especially humans, cannot survive if they don't stick together, right? If they stay alone, they will end up killed by monsters. He comments that she's probably right. Platy turns to him, asking if, then our guy is different, and he just denies it. He believes he is of the same race she is talking about, leaving the mermaid intrigued. She then internally wonders if he is strong or weak, leaving only the doubt, while our character says that the tomatoes are great, questioning what they should make for breakfast. Soon he remembers something and asks the lady if she slept well, as she woke up quite early. He asks where she went. The girl blushes, seeming frustrated. She says she went to the bathroom, questioning if the Earthlings have no manners. He apologizes for that. She then asks where he does those things, and he replies that in the ocean. The girl gets very angry about it. She yells at him, and our girl asks if she can't do that. She just says it's something obvious. With a threatening tone, she stares at our boy. He explains that he heard that, when they are sailing, they do these things too, and thus the plankton feed on it, and are then eaten, making the food chain work. She explains that this is exactly the insensitive side of the terrestrials. The ocean's cycle is completed by the inhabitants of the ocean. Asking him not to impose his filthy customs from another world here, he deeply apologizes, saying that she is right. She then says that it's all right since the Earthlings are not as sophisticated as they are, and asks him to wait a moment. Our guy thinks he has really gotten too used to the convenient way of having bathrooms in his world. He needs to dig a hole and bury it, and he seems to have forgotten the basics of survival, even though this is the lifestyle he wanted. Since humans are weak against nature, our friend feels relieved to have Plady around, but he questions if it is okay to make her feel that way. I mean, is she okay living with him there, knowing that she said she hated it? She brings a tray with two creatures. He questions what that would be, and she explains that it is a starfish monster. They are underwater creatures that absorb organic matter around them. They are the cleaners of the ocean. If he puts the creatures in a box, then I know the bathroom would be there. She says she will demonstrate by taking a knife and cutting her arm, letting the blood fall into the box. The blood, in a few seconds, starts to be diluted and disappear. She explains that this is their most efficient way, but our guy grabs her arm. He apologizes for that. He is worried about so much blood there. He is sad for having taken her that day, and if it hadn't been like that. Since he met her, Plady has always helped him with many things. The girl becomes sentimental for a moment. But soon he returns to normal, saying it's because he can't help it, but the blood flies out. He says that mermaids are amazing. Plady comments that humans scare very easily. She just brushes her hand over the wound and quickly heals. He is surprised and apologizes for being so frightened and all dirty, believing that the reason he caught her must also be due to the power he received. Now she cannot return to the ocean. But Plady says that's not quite the case, and that she has started to like him. That's why she will assist him in his pride from now on, calling him dear. Our guy is shocked, and she asks him if he thinks that's bad. He says no, and she, excited, asks him to leave it with her. He thanks Plady. She turns her face, saying that her life may have gotten a little easier and more comfortable, but he still has breakfast to make. Meanwhile, in a nearby location, inside a cave, a sinister creature questions what that noise is. Exuding power, the creature senses a strange mana nearby. Plady asks our friend to take a good look at her dress. She explains that she made it with some pieces she bought in her homeland. He feels sad, thinking he is not providing enough resources. She says it's all right since, as a bride, she needs to present herself well to her husband, and there is nothing wrong with that. Not to mention that she is going out for the first time in a while. He questions this, and she explains that she found a dungeon. She explains that a dungeon is a great place to find treasures, fight monsters, and that there's always a boss waiting on the last floor. He asks if she's sure about that, and she explains that it will be easier for him to see for himself than to try to explain. They soon arrive at the cave she mentioned. He comments that it is 2 hours away from there, questioning how she found that cave. She says it was when he was working in the field. This is a dungeon-type cave. They appear in places with an abundance of mana. He comments that it seems to be a common cave. But soon she feels a pressure coming from within her, and questions what that was. She explains that, depending on the place, the energy that flows and circulates around the earth stops flowing and stagnates. He feels disgusted, thinking it seems like a large animal licked his face. She is amazed at how incredible the expressions of earthlings are. She explains that places like dungeons become incredibly dense, being condensed with reincarnated monsters, and, as a result, the monsters that are born in the dungeon will eventually end up flooding and invading the land and the sea. He questions whether this isn't very bad, and she explains that this is why they came here. Our boy asks if they can do something about it. She says that cleaning the interior is nearly impossible. So, they must come from time to time and deal with the creatures. She then thanks him for carrying her bags and says she will go inside now. With conviction, our boy says he is still her husband, so he will join her. She becomes restless with the statement. The two enter the dungeon, and our boy is impressed, commenting that it is completely different from the entrance and even looks like a castle, but Plady seems to find something strange. Because it seems the monsters are already there. Before you the darkness condenses, and soon the creatures start to pour out of the dungeon. Plady takes the initiative, telling our boy to stay behind. She takes out 3 potions from her bag. Jumping, she throws at the creatures, which upon impact, start to explode and burn. Our boy is impressed, and she brags, explaining that it's not just fire, they are freezing, getting shocked, and melting. This is how we can fight with our flasks too. Our partner just stands there, amazed. She moves forward, saying they must continue. Our guy questions who, in fact, is the monster there. He says he will let her take charge of things, as he ends up being useless without a weapon. When you look to the side, something shiny catches your attention. There was a sword on the ground. He happily picks up the sword, as one would expect in a dungeon. He thinks there doesn't seem to be a chance to use it, and that he will just hold on to it for now. He asks Plady if it is not enough yet, and she says no. He says she has already killed a large number of them, so they should go home. Plady explains that there is something wrong with this dungeon, and our friend asks what it could be. The layout of the dungeon, as well as the feeling that the monsters are being sent by something. She believes there might be someone guiding, making our guy worried. Plady comments that he can be a master. Our guy asks if he would then be a dungeon boss, and she says yes, but dungeons with a master are extremely rare, and they tend to be extremely dangerous. He questions what the girl means by that. She explains that there are only two species that can become dungeon bosses. It could be a dragon or... At that moment, a strong wave of energy passes through her, leaving our guy bewildered. She believes she makes no mistakes. That ghostly aura must mean there's a dungeon boss there, after all, and it's the worst kind between the two. Our boy questions if it is a dragon, and she claims it is the second, the king of the dead, a lifeless king. He is an intelligent and powerful wizard, or even a high priest, who decided to turn into undead during his past life, an immortal monarch who rules over the dead, and meeting him is like meeting death. Our boy is really scared. The creature comments that it can feel where this special mana comes from, saying that it will turn them into bodies and have them as its companions. While our friend tries to hold on with the strength of mana, Plady gets ready to battle. Throwing one of his bottles at the lick's head, the fire bursts forth immediately. But a few seconds after the fire starts, it immediately stops. Our guy questions if he healed himself, and she comments that this is an immortal. She says she still has potions, asking to be left with them and for you to leave the place. Our friend could never do something like that. Holding his sword, he charges at the lich. Saying it's his husband, he jumps towards the zombie to strike him with his sword. She, perplexed, watches our boy's determination. In the next second, our guy is there, standing victorious, wondering how he managed to defeat the creature. The lich explains that he hit him with a holy sword, but still, his power is terrifying. Our boy is surprised to learn that he ended up taking a holy sword by mistake, leaving both the lich and the mermaid perplexed. The undead king comments that this was his sword, and our guy apologizes for stealing the lich's sword. The lich explains that the sword separated from him and chose our hero in his place. But our boy gets confused about that. The lich explains that sacred swords have a will of their own and choose their own masters. And as he lost his sacred sword, his duty in this world came to an end. The leader asks him to finish the work there, since even this undead body can be laid to rest under the power of the divine light of the sacred sword, yet our friend seems hesitant. He comments that he believes he is not the true owner of this sword. The lich then questions this, and he explains that he came from another world and was given the power of mastery over any tool he holds. This power must have reacted with the sword. The lich is surprised, remarking that this is a gift from the gods that can only be heard of in legends, an extraordinary ability, and this is something immeasurable, which cannot even be called an ability. It is someone who has received such a great blessing from the gods that they could not even be called a hero. With conviction, the lich states that this is a saint. He bows before our boy, saying that he must offer him the greatest form of hospitality, leaving our lad surprised. He ends up feeling bad for seeming overexcited, but our mermaid, Plady, just boasts about having chosen the right husband, after all. The lich questions what brings our guy there. The mermaid comments that monster bones make great magical tools and also serve as materials. Our boy explains that he ended up stopping there in that place. He says that exterminating monsters is the most important thing to do in order to live there. The protagonist questions whether the dungeons of this world are, by chance, convenient stores for him, and Plady simply says they are quite convenient, as they are close enough. She asks if it's okay to come by there from time to time, and the Lich eagerly agrees to it. He says that he was actually clearing out the excess monsters on his own, and that this would be a great help. She is excited and says she can hardly wait to have a neighbor around, and he agrees, saying he is also looking forward to it. Our guy there seems to not understand what is happening. She introduces herself as Plady and says that this is her husband Kitten, who also greets and asks who he would be. The Lich tries to remember his name, making Plady question it. If he remembers correctly, in his past life he served as the archbishop of a certain church. It seems that, for some reason, he ended up being pursued and fled, but he was eventually taken to this dungeon and absorbed by the stagnant mana. When he became an undead, he ended up placing a great curse upon himself, and thus hundreds of years passed. The exact reason for having become undead, as well as his name, seems not to be remembered correctly. The two are touched by her story. He recalls that, in fact, he was just an old man with no real reasons to live. But he feels that, from then on, the suffering that tormented him faded, even if just a little. Our boy smiles, saying that he will visit them, and that he will be welcome to try some vegetables they are planting, calling him master. Plady questions why he was called that. He explains that the Lich was a high-ranking member of the church during his past life, so he will call him master from then on. The Lich thanks him. But our guy comments that he can't take the sword out of his hand. The Lich just says that it seems she ended up liking him. Some time later, our boy bursts into joy, saying that he is ready. He believes that this sword is truly amazing. It can cut through stones as if they were butter. Plady asks what he thinks this sword is. But then he asks what he is doing this time. Our guy comments that he is making a forge. She doesn't understand the reason and asks him. He replies that he is about to receive the Master Lich there. She soon remembers the mana metal they received from the Lich, so she asks what he will do with it. He replies that, since they received the metal, he was waiting to make something. She seems uneasy about the fact that the Lich can materialize so many pieces of mana metal, to the point of thinking that he would give them without hesitation. But for some reason, since they are made of mana material, they will probably work well in magical swords, and indeed these pieces can cost up to 10 gold coins each. Our guy starts hammering something. It is then that our boy reveals his new culinary tools, commenting that it was what he had been waiting for. Plady asks what that would be, and he replies that it is called a frying pan and a kitchen knife, believing it would be easier to demonstrate right away. He then starts cutting the vegetables with the kitchen knife and proceeds to fry them using the frying pan, and finally adds flavor using salt and pepper. Plady looks in awe at our guy's skills. And finally, it's ready. He serves a new dish of fried vegetables. Plady is truly enchanted, wondering why it is so delicious. She soon realizes that it is a tool for making dishes, so it might have been her skill that helped her with this. She almost cried because the food was so good. Plady asks if they always had those kitchen utensils, and our guy comments that he also made them. Actually, it's because mana metal is incredible. In addition to being a good conductor, it is very lightweight, great for cooking, and non-stick, making it easy to clean. But Plady finally comes to his senses and questions what has doing with the rare mana metal. But soon, she seems enchanted by the boy's happiness. He comments that he can now greatly expand his culinary repertoire. Plady just questions whether it is still possible to expand the repertoire, and he confirms, noting that he only needs to add other ingredients. She, restless, asks him what he needs for that. He then replies that he needs meat. Not only that, but oil, among other things, is also needed to enhance the flavor. She quickly says that they need to leave. They walk through the forest. As they walk, Plady says that, as a mermaid, he has not yet seen mountain monsters and has always wanted to eat one of them. He asks about it, and she explains that there are bird monsters, but also the mountain monsters, such as boars and others, which are usually the best dishes for cooking. They usually say that they are truly delicious. Our boy perceives the rich diversity of that world. She recalls that monsters are usually created in dungeons. He imagined that the lich was using its powers to control the monsters and prevent them from getting out of there. What if there were monsters in the mountain over there? Then the mountain itself would be the dungeon. He was perplexed to learn that there was a dungeon so close. Platy stops for a moment and stays on alert. Several lurking wild boars are watching them. Platy is happy about it, but our friend seems a bit scared. Our guy questions why they seem completely ready to fight. She is happy, believing that there must be a dungeon nearby, but our friend doesn't seem so happy. He proposes to take down the creatures, but Platy says they should limit themselves to doing it in the cleanest way possible. The creatures attack our friend, who is dying of fear. He feels without choices, so he strikes the creatures with the flat side of the sword, leaving them unconscious. Platy is very pleased, saying that it was splendid. He explains that he only did it because the monsters came in sequence. She, excited, says they should prepare them quickly. She explains that he can cut the meat into a size that can be used. Then she will use her potions to freeze it and preserve it, but he retorts that, for that amount, they would need a refrigerator to store it. Some time later, our guy ended up building a storage facility to keep the meat they had obtained. He questions whether there is freezing magic inside as well. She confirms. He feels grateful. Thanks to Platy, his daily life will begin to take a new direction. She explains that, with this, he will be able to evolve his meals and asks him to prepare a dish for her soon. He thinks for a moment, since the boar is a pig. Since pork is used, the most delicious dish must be that one. Tonkatsu thinks our guy with fond memories. He can only imagine that he really wants to eat this, and Platy is completely obsessed with what he is imagining. So, he realizes that they have few ingredients to make this. She asks what they need, and he explains that, in fact, the problem is the eggs. She asks if, for example, that bird invading her field would work. He comments that he doesn't know if it would be suitable for cooking. He wonders if, somewhere in this world, bird eggs are cooked. She seems to be uncertain about it, commenting that in the land of dwarves they do that kind of thing, but that this is not seen in the land of mermaids. Our boy thinks that if they encounter a monster again, they will have to kill it. Meanwhile, the creature approaches him from behind. Platy comments that they should go to the mountains once more and might possibly encounter monster-type birds, but he questions again. At this moment, our guy notices something and quickly turns around. Both react to the creature's presence. When they look in that direction, they question whether it is a bird or a plane. But our guy soon realizes that it's a big dragon. The dragon, in a menacing tone, remarks, "So it was you who invaded my dungeon." They become unsure, and Platy asks if he is referring to that mountain. The dragon simply confirms. She asks again if, by any chance, he would be the master of that dungeon, and he confirms it once more. Our character questions the mermaid for mentioning that this dungeon would have a master, but she simply comments that the boss was attracted by her strength. The dragon comments that his name is Grinsel Dragonvale and questions again. Who was it that entered the mountains of the Dragon King without asking? Was it you who killed my subordinates, you scoundrels? The protagonist, frightened, says he didn't know the mountain had a master. He apologizes, saying that it won't happen again, asking if they can forgive him, but the dragon says it is unforgivable. Inferior life forms, thus surpassing my domain and acting as you see fit, you have stained my honor, therefore, I will eradicate your presence. Breathing a dragon's breath, the creature exclaims that they must erase their sins. The fire that was coming toward him spread quickly across the ground. Platy panicked, thinking they were going to die, but our guy, in a swift motion, drew his sword and stepped in front of the mermaid to protect her. He lunged forward forcefully to shield himself from the gust. At the moment the attack is launched, the fire retreats toward the dragon, and he was shocked by it. Our guy seems surprised that he managed to make this work. The dragon kept believing it was impossible. How could a mere human be capable of stopping its death breath? Platy was truly enchanted by her husband, saving her in such a way. Our guy just turned around to check if she was okay. The dragon was surprised, not only for blocking but for defending its territory. The same happened with our boy. who was relieved to see the fields intact. Our guy turns to the dragon, saying he apologizes for entering its mountain without permission, but if it wants to cause trouble there, he will protect the things that are important to him and fight, pointing his sword at the dragon. He asks if it intends to fight to the death with him. Yet, deep inside, he hopes the creature will back down soon. The dragon, in turn, notices the sword he is wielding. Questioning this, our hero remarks that, indeed, this is the sacred sword. He took it from the king of the dead, who bestowed this great sword upon him. The dragon lands on the ground, saying that this is wrong and that this sword actually belongs to him, moving towards our friend. He quickly moves away as he thinks about it. But soon the lich appears, summoned by Dragonvale. He stood before the dragon, which was surprised by his appearance. The lich blocks the dragon's attack and pushes it back. As the dragon falls, the lich remarks that these problems occurred because of him and apologizes to our character for all of this. The mermaid questions the meaning of it all. He recalls that this dragon initially went to his dungeon, questioning how he dared to enter his territory. Soon after, he ended up commenting about his neighbors. And so the dragon quickly rushed towards them. The lich realized the trouble he had caused at that moment. And this is what happened. Our boy became a little worried. But he clarifies that, in fact, it was they who entered the dragon's territory, so they are in the wrong there. The lich comments that he was once a human, so he can understand. Since, for humans, dungeons are a source of resources, ingredients, and construction materials, they are a very important place for daily resource gathering. Therefore, groups gather and challenge the dungeons. And for the masters, invaders are daily occurrences. The lich faces the dragon and remarks that it only became enraged because part of its dungeon was invaded, and that it is very reckless of it to leave just to chase someone. He emphasizes that his actions in being strong are very childish, and that he hopes to be worthy of becoming the successor of the dragon Gazard. Not to mention that Kadan, the person beside you, is not an opponent at your level. Just return to your mountain at once. But the dragon, enraged, says he cannot do that. He questions why a mere human possesses this sword, which his father asked to retrieve from that damned undead. The dragon questions why the lich gave the sword to this human. He explains that, in fact, it was the sword's choice to stay with this person. When I took his father's life, he began to understand and fear this, compared to you, who only knows how to burn everything around you without thinking. The sword is making the most natural choice. Do you believe I can accept this? That bastard and I will fight for the succession of the Gazer dragon. The impatient lich then asks if he could be his opponent in that case. The dragon parts, saying that he will back down only this time, but he will return. Our boy asks him to wait. He grabs the dragon by the tail, and it falls instantly to the ground. How dare a mere human touch my body? Our guy quickly apologizes. The lich comments again, asking if he understands now. He wouldn't be able to sell. The protagonist asks if he would like to join them for a meal. The dragon hesitates. Therefore, the meal is served. He serves a larger plate to the dragon, who asks what it is. He explains that it's steak. He explains that he cooked the wild boar he found in his dungeon. Not sure if it suits his taste, the dragon takes the piece of meat and eats it. The dragon erupts in ecstasy, letting out a loud roar that ignites the skies. Delicious, it is really delicious. What is this? Our friend is happy that it is palatable for him. The dragon asks if there could be more servers, but Platy is frustrated, wanting a little too. He just wonders how many he should make now. A brilliance shines and blinds our boy. The two then question what it is. They realize that the dragon is the one shining, leaving our couple scared. From there a human shape appears. They are extremely surprised by this. Saying that she became a girl, the lich explains that dragons have quite unique powers, such as the ability to take human form. She explains that she really started to like the steak he made and, from then on, she would love him forever. She asks for more meat to be brought quickly, but Platy retorts, saying that now it's her turn. Our protagonist ends up feeling happy at the thought that perhaps she can manage with less meat this way. The lich also tastes the meat that our boy brings, and he comments that it is delicious, leaving our boy surprised. The Lich comments that the meat is grilled excellently, but the best part is the delicacies that were used as seasoning. Our boss explains that he used garlic for the aroma, salt and pepper for the flavor. So, it should be a simple dish, but the Lich responds that this is not true. Not even the royal palace can provide dishes as delicious as that one. The little girl lying down with a full belly comments not to be so full of herself. She tells him not to get carried away, just because he knows how to cook a little and that he still hasn't given up on the sword. The Lich comments that she is still too young for this. Our boy apologizes, saying that the sword just doesn't want to leave him alone. She comments that she will only burn it when he is distracted and takes the sword back. Plady says that if she does this, she will no longer be able to eat those steaks, leaving the dragon girl stunned. Transforming once again, he says that one day he will surely take that sword from him. Until that day comes, he will occasionally visit to eat this delicious food. Our boy simply says that she will be welcome. Plady tries to catch the dragon's attention before it departs. She asks if there are bird monsters in her mountain dungeon. The dragon remarks that he's not sure and that they don't usually have good taste. Plady says that, actually, she would just like their eggs. And that, if they have the eggs, it can make the meat dish taste even better than the latter. The dragon quickly notices the tempting offer and says it will soon go home to look for them, but Plady asks it to wait again. She asks to be taken along, as she knows the ecology of the monsters well, and the dragon agrees. Thus, the two set off towards the mountain, leaving our guy there, looking like a fool. The Lich comments that these two are well-lived creatures, and he eagerly agrees with this opinion, but look with a hopeful gaze, believing it is better than living bored. Our protagonist is once again fishing absent-mindedly, thinking that it has been a while since he last did this. He remembers that the last time he thought he had caught something big, but in the end, it was a mermaid, and he ended up getting married. With just one catch, he ended up living with Plady. He begins to remember all the things that happened since he arrived there, in that world. His life has become quite busy, since he was forced to become the husband of a mermaid, deal with a lich who treats him like a hero, and coexist with a neighboring dragon of his land. Every day has been very busy. The thought that he might have a moment of peace while fishing is, for him, really great. Our boy notices a movement in the water. There, suspicious eyes stare at him, and he is perplexed. He soon realizes that it is someone of the same species as our favorite mermaid. He wonders if, by any chance, it would be a friend of Plady. At that moment, he reveals himself with rancor, telling everyone to get ready and kill that person immediately and destroy anything that opposes. The newts throw harpoons in his direction, and our guy hastily draws his sword. But her sudden movement disturbs the water to the point that it turns into a huge whirlpool, causing the mermen to be thrown into the air. They soon fall back, as our boy questions what it was that he did. Plady soon appears, questioning what all the commotion was about, and our boy asks her to look over there. The man calls her by name, and she calls him brother. Our boy is surprised by this embarrassing moment. All the newts start calling for their princess, asking if her highness is safe. Our boy is surprised by this, questioning if she is really a princess. She says she will introduce herself properly. She says that this man is her older brother, Prince Arowana, and that he is next in line to the throne. He is perplexed as she tries to explain, saying that she will introduce him to her brother. Plady goes up to him and says, "This is Kadan, he is my husband." All the mermen, just like the crown prince, are shocked by the statement. She says she understands that they came there to take her back, but she will never return to the kingdom of the mermaids. She also asks them to explain this to her mother and father. Her brother is furious and says this is unforgivable. How dare a Landweller violate his sister, in addition to kidnapping her? He orders everyone to arm themselves and prepare for battle. Shouting that they will tear him in half, they fly towards our guy. Plady urges him not to hold back and counterattack, but our guy hesitates, saying that they are his family. At that moment, a strong wind hurls the Tritons away. That's when the dragon appears, questioning what all the commotion is about. This leaves the prince speechless. All the soldiers are also shocked, saying they must run or they will be eaten. They tell the prince to go as well, since with a simple breath he can make all the water boil from the heat. The dragon lands on the ground, questioning if everything is okay with him. Our guy says yes, thanking him for the help. The prince, in turn, is shocked by the treatment. He says that, of course, he would do it and that he won't be able to eat delicious food if he disappears. The prince seems curious about their relationship. Platy remarks that the dragon shouldn't get too excited just because it received a thank you. The dragon comments that it seems only one of them remains, and the prince is shocked to realize that everyone else has already left. The dragon says that, as a reward for not fleeing from him, Grinzel the dragon, son of Gazar, will turn him into charcoal instantly. Our friend asks not to do that with a little punch to the leg, as it causes pain to the dragon. He explains that this person is Platy's brother, and then invites the young man to eat something with them. The young man, perplexed, explains that they do not know each other yet, and suggests it would be better to talk a little while extending his hand. He questions what our guy is up to. As a terrestrial, he will not hear anything he has to say. Platy confirms that he will not hear anything, especially since there is nothing more to be said there, asking him to leave and return to the kingdom alone. But our boy asks her not to act that way, especially because the reason her brother is there is that he was worried about her. He feels the responsibility to listen to what her brother has to say. She becomes momentarily worried. The girl's brother comments that he changed his mind, then a glow bursts forth from him. Upon leaving the water with human legs, he says he will not shy away from a challenge with his honor at stake, so he will accept. Our guy asks him to put on some clothes. The merman comments that he already had some clothes set aside in case this happened. The protagonist guides the merman to his residence. The dragon comments that it seems our friend will take him for a meal. Could it be time to try a new dish? He then asks what is wrong with her, but the mermaid just seems to look with a vague and worried expression.